I'm Alex Ianello, cook, food photographer, and now podcast host. I live for mealtimes like most people, but it's not just the end result that I'm interested in. The recipe, the cook behind the dish, all aspects of putting food on the table interest and inspire me. During my teens, I had my first encounter with adversity. I suffered a brain injury following a bad car accident, forcing me to drop out of education and focus on getting better both physically and mentally. Fast forward 10 years and I've now graduated from culinary school, but injuries have kept me out of professional kitchens, and so I explore my passion in other ways, through writing, photography and building a community around food. Now I'm here with a space to share stories, a place where we can talk about overcoming adversity. Food and cooking have helped me enormously through tough times. Now I want to hear what's helped others. Sit down with me and some familiar faces as we explore food, community, identity, purpose, and success. In each episode we'll be covering the past, the present, and the future as we reflect, show gratitude, and try to find that secret ingredient to dealing with life's challenges. So if you're feeling cannelloni, come join us for an hour or so here on Just to Pass the Time. My guest today is a multi-talented director, writer and king of queer podcasting, Chris Sweeney. Born in London to a fashion photographer father and a stylist mother, Chris began to sow the seeds of his directing career at a young age by filming fake, You've Been Framed videos on his camcorder at home. Fast forward to today and Chris has quite the resume, with TV shows including The Tourist and Liar under his belt, as well as music videos by the likes of Lily Allen and Jessie Ware. In 2017 he launched his hugely successful podcast Homo Sapiens, which in his words is the LGBTQ+ answer to Woman's Hour. On talking about his podcast, Chris said, "It's been the most joyous thing I've ever done in my life. If all my other work evaporated and I only had the podcast, I'd be as happy as a clam." Chris Sweeney, welcome to Just to Pass the Time.
Thank you very much. This clam is very happy to be here.
I really appreciate you doing this. I'm a huge fan of Homo Sapiens, and I really mean that. So I appreciate you giving up your evening to chat to me. I wondered if we could start with that last quote of yours. I wondered if you still feel like that, because it's a bold thing to say that if all of the big money making work suddenly went away, you would be happy chatting to a different LGBTQ+ person every week.
Yeah, I mean, I think I stand by it. I think it's like once you've been working for a while, which I have been, you're sort of looking for meaning, if you know what I mean, and service. One of the things that I think is about leading like a happy, nutritious life is to like give back, and that it sounds like I think I'm some angel. I don't, but I think like it's about trying to do something that actually means something to people, you know? And that's what I love about Homo Sapiens is we've set it up. I have loads of fun doing it. I'm very lucky that I have loads of fun doing it. And it creates this network and community of people who, you know, it means a lot to. And it's very hard to find that kind of stuff in your life. So I'm thrilled that it exists.
And do you think, and this is going to get very heavy very early on, but I'm curious, do you think chatting to other LGBTQ+ people sort of heals a part of our younger selves that felt alone and ostracized? And do you think it helps with that? Do you think it goes back to that, or am I reading into it too much?
No, not at all. I think you should be able to get out of it whatever one specifically wants, you know. But I think that I think it's partly to do with that. I think that period of your life, if you're my age, i.e. born in 1982, You couldn't be at school, and you couldn't really tell people. I mean, you could if you were gay, but like it didn't go down very well on the whole. There were people who managed to make that work, but I did not. So that little person was very lonely, and so to create this thing is definitely a gift to that kid. I would say every email we had, not every email, so many emails that we get are from people saying, I wish this was around when I was a kid. And so I do think it's partly that. And a big part of it is that, I think, but there's also like a second part of that, which is that we also sort of owe it to have it now, if you know what I mean. Like it's not, I think the thing about the podcast is, we called it like Women's Hour for Queer People was, the sort of first conversation we ever had. We didn't even say queer people. We said queer. We said for LGBT people. Like people weren't even saying queer so much in 2017. But it was meant to be like just a place for chatting and not activism in a weird way. Because I think we as LGBT people get put into this bracket of activists, and if you see them on the news, they're complaining about something that's happened to them and they're sticking up for themselves. And I was like, where's just the real life stuff? Where's just them talking about shooting the breeze about what they did today, or what we did today? And so that's what it's meant to be for, because we deserve that, and it's a very soothing thing to be able to do. And I didn't feel like I didn't actually think I'd ever seen it anywhere.
No, I think that's a good point. I think you do it so well that, because you almost feel like you're just listening to two queer friends having a conversation, having a chat, as a fly on the wall, and it's not intimidating. It's like a friend there every week in your inbox, that you can just listen to other like-minded people
yakking away about nothing. Secrets out. Us queer people just chat shit.
You're doing something right. It's been going for long enough now. So I wondered if we could just do a quick fire round just to find out a few facts and interesting things about you. We like to do it to get our guests warmed up. Some are food related, some are work related. So the first one is bread or pasta?
I mean, these are big questions. This is Sophie's choice. I'm going to say bread. Bread, I'd have to keep bread.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's most people's answer.
I feel like you can make bread feel a bit pasta adjacent if you put some tomato sauce on it. I can't make pasta feel bread-like.
Yeah, that's true. You can't argue with that.
No, it's just... And also, like, it's every meal. Like, bread you can have for breakfast, lunch, dinner.
True. Can't have spag bowl for breakfast, can you?
No, I mean, I've tried. Spag bowl with a bit of ketchup in, by the way, the next day after you've made it.
Chris, I'm Italian and I can feel my nonna turning in her grave right now. But...
Nonna, I'm so sorry.
Whatever suits you, each to their own.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, next one. TV or music video? Which do you prefer working on as a director?
I much prefer TV. I love what I'm doing now. Yeah, I mean, I love them both, but I don't want to do music videos anymore.
Sure. Flat white or espresso martini?
Flat white. I like an espresso martini, but I haven't had one in years because you can't really make them. Well, I don't know how to make them, so you then have to be out.
They bother me because I think, why are you offering up a cocktail at midnight with a double espresso in? I've never got it. They taste nice, but they're not practical unless you're having it at 10 in the morning, which I have done. But
you have done?
Well, on special occasions, I don't make a habit of it, but...
I can see one in your shot here now. I don't know. I think espresso martini is nice because it's not sweet, and I find lots of cocktails sweet. That's why I like them. And also they keep me awake because, I have a few drinks and I'm quite tired. But no, I think flat white because it's just the coffee of choice.
Sure. Good answer. Global icon or unsung hero? Which do you prefer having on the podcast? Because you have massive celebrities and then you have people who are just normal, everyday queer folk.
I think that, to give you a non-answer, I think the point of it, in a way, is that we have both, right? So when one of our first ever conversations about Homo Sapiens was, it should be like Woman's Hour, how one day they'll have Michelle Obama on and the next day they'll have a phone in about having bunions on your toes. And they both live... They both live on Women's Hour and they both are very obvious segments on Women's Hour, right? And I think the same for that. Like, I think people like Billy Porter coming on the podcast to talk about his life and his experiences, and someone listening realizing that they are the same and look what he's achieved is really important. But then also there is stuff like, we had this Uber driver called Natalie who we just met in her car and we just started talking, and then it was clear that she was a queer woman. We started talking about her life, and we just, we said, hey, can we just do this as like an interview? And we chatted, and she told us her life story, because part of what was amazing about it is her mum said, I don't want to get any of this wrong, but this is roughly right. When her mum found out she was queer, she said, get out, basically kicked her out of home. But then when her mum was dying, Natalie had to go back and look after her and nurse her to her deathbed, and even though they were like not talking, and her mum said to her, like, I want to say to you that I think you led the life I wanted to lead. And we don't know what that means, you know what I mean? But it was like that story of, we can all relate to about what it is to tell your parents who you are, and that goes really badly sometimes for queer people. And where do you go from there? That's a horrible thing to happen, and to have a space to talk about that and have people write in and tell their stories, amazing. So the short answer is both. The long answer is that one.
Yeah, both are valid. Both are important. You can gain insight from both, can't you?
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sorry, it's not turned out to be a very quick fire. It normally ends
It's my
up
fault because I won't shut up.
No, it's not your fault.
Consider me warm. I'm warmed up.
Good. Next one, cheese board or cheesecake?
Now, this one I can answer quickly. It's cheesecake for days.
Not a cheese fan.
I kind of get it, but it also comes out at a time when I'm not hungry anymore.
Sure, but you're a fan of cheese in general.
Love cheese. Literally, what I just ate before this was a Baby Bell.
The go-to snack before recording.
I was like, there's fucking no food in the house because I forgot to edit the online shop. So I was like, Baby Bell or nothing? So I had a Baby Bell and then a carrot I realised was kind of mouldy halfway through.
I've been so hungry at points that I've just eaten the Baby Bell with the red on. It's happened. I'm not ashamed of it,
What would your nonna have to say about that?
Yeah, she might be okay about it. I mean, she lived over here since she was, since the mid 50s. So right. She kind of, by time she passed away, she was she'd been broken down a little bit and had sort of taken to English ways of eating a bit more. So she probably would have been okay. Next one. Mighty Hoopla or A Night at the Opera?
Hoopla forever, although I will caveat it with the fact that I have never been to Hoopla.
Mighty Hoopla, but you've never been to Mighty Hoopla?
I've never been because I'm never here. I missed it every single time. I've had tickets a million times, and then because my work means that I go away, like we go to another country for weeks, you know what I mean? And it's so, and we're doing a whole Hoopla special this year.
I heard, yeah.
So, but we go. I went to Sink the Pink a million times back in the day, so I feel like I know the vibe. And also, everyone posts about it on their Instagram, don't they? So it feels like I'm there.
Feels like you've been anyway. Sure.
Yeah, I don't think I've got the body for it though. Christ alive, what are these people eating?
Honestly, don't. I go there every year and crash diet for the 2 weeks before, which is terrible.
Do you?
I really do, and it's terrible. You shouldn't have to. And I see people there who are sort of my size, just having a fantastic time, and I think, God, I wish that was me. I'll get there one day, but for the 2 weeks before, it's kale for 2 weeks.
Really?
So I'm in a bad mood every day, but I think it's going to be worth it, and it never is.
But we should all just make a group decision as Hooplas. That we're not going to do it because we're only doing it to impress each other and everyone's living a lie. Let's just go and dance to Mystique in a field and love ourselves.
Yeah, and not judge anyone.
No, well, hopefully, I'm going to be there this bloody year because we've got to cover it for the podcast. That's actually how I've managed to go. I'm like, If I put it as happening on the
Incorporate
podcast.
work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, well, hopefully you'll enjoy. Next one, live to eat or eat to live?
I like eating, but I'm going to say eat to live a little bit.
Is it kind of fuel for you?
I love food, but I just don't know whether like really good friends of mine are obsessed with cooking and making, and I don't know that that's me.
Sure. And the final one, playlist or podcast? Which would you listen to more in your everyday life?
Playlist music.
Interesting.
Definitely.
Music helps you get things done.
Totally.
It's a tempo, isn't it?
Yeah, I love. Basically, I work to music, so I'll just put a song on, often one song on repeat because I'm sad, and then I just get into a zone and work.
I'm the same, to be fair. Okay, that concludes the quickfire round. I feel like I know you a lot better already. Some of the answers have been a bit questionable, but that's what it's here for, you know? I'm joking.
Good.
I'm joking. So I wondered if we could go back to your childhood for a bit, if that's okay. So you grew up in London.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I've got an older sister called Emma. She's 4 years older than me.
Older sister Emma. What was life like for little Chris?
Life was like, for little Chris, it was a very warm, loving household. And I was a very sunny kid. I remember being sunny. I just remember being happy. And it's really interesting. Like our daughter now, I see that sunshine in her. And I just remember being like that. And then I went to school and all the sunshine left because I didn't know I was different. You know what I mean? I was just like an effeminate kid. It wasn't that big a deal, but like it obviously was to some people. And I think it dimmed me, like it bothered me. You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of people it wouldn't have bothered, but it did bother me and I wanted to be like everyone else and I wasn't. So there was the school life thing that I just found really difficult. But I definitely, my home life, I was very lucky to have a loving family who made me feel safe. And I think that is partly why I could do the other stuff without going insane, if you know what I mean.
It's really interesting whenever you're around small children because you do forget. And then when you happen to be around one, whether it's a niece, nephew, or you have your own, you think, wow, they're so blissfully unaware, and it's so inspiring, isn't it, to see them not care about anything or have any sort of prejudice or malice in them.
Yeah, and then they learn it. You know, they're taught it. That's the thing. It doesn't come from them. They're taught it, and that's what's disappointing.
Sure. And what were you eating growing up? Who was cooking?
Well, we always tease my mum because we used to say, because my mum's like a very proud cook, and she like made all our food and stuff, but we always used to tease my mum that she would give us Finder's crispy pancakes all the time, which actually she didn't, but we'd be like, yeah, that's all we ever had when we were kids, because of the reaction it gets, because she's a proud mum. My mum made a lot of mince with peas and carrots in it. She made a lot of like lasagnas and stuff, a lot of, you know, like classic stuff. Like she'd always want to do a roast on a Sunday. Definitely like family eating. We didn't really eat together much. My dad would often eat his dinner like on a tray in the sitting room watching TV. And me and my sister would eat together early. And then we'd try and do something on a Sunday, but it often didn't necessarily work out.
But fond memories of the food you were given.
Yeah.
You enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And like, my mum always cooked, you know, like it was really interesting. Like when you went round to other people's houses where it was like they just kind of got shit out of the fridge and that was that. And everyone had to work it out. I was like, oh, I didn't really eat. Yeah, it was, we were very lucky.
So we're going to fast forward slightly. So at 18, you moved to Bournemouth to study TV and film at university.
Yeah, I did an art foundation after school, and then I went to Bournemouth. Yeah.
What was that like? Because that's quite a move, going from London to Bournemouth. You know,
it was a terrible idea.
Really?
It was a terrible. As I was going down the M3 away from London, and basically I told some people I was gay. I was like, why am I leaving London where it's like I can be gay? Like you can be gay in Bournemouth, of course, but like it's different. Like there were club nights that were like interesting and you know what I mean in London. And Bournemouth just wasn't like that. It was a very lovely place, but I was like, I probably shouldn't have done that. But I basically went to university. First year, I was like, I'm going to come out. It's going to change my life. It's going to be amazing. And then I got there and I didn't, you sort of did that thing where it's like, I just chickened out of telling people. So then I spent the whole year sort of lying. I had a girlfriend. And then the second year I came out. Because actually a lot of my friends were gay as well. So we sort of ended up, working it all out together.
You do gravitate to other queer people when you're younger, even though neither of you say it. It's funny, isn't it? You can just kind of sense it in each other, and you never have that conversation about it. So you said before that you fell in love with music videos and you became obsessed with creating sort of the visuals for songs. Was there one particular music video that you saw and you thought, that's what I want to do?
I used to love all the big American pop videos, like Destiny's Child, Bootylicious, all of those videos were they blew my mind, and that stuff, and then Janet Jackson and stuff like that. It was very much that kind of thing, and that made me go and try and find who made those things. You know what I mean?
Sure, get inquisitive about it.
Yeah, but it was interesting, when I then arrived in the world of music videos, that kind of stuff was considered really uncool, actually. It wasn't quirky, and I was like, oh, I suppose not. But then, in a sort of heteronormative way, that stuff also wasn't considered of value, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I thought was quite interesting. It was sort of throwaway and bubblegum, and I was like, but then I found the gays, and then we all loved them, so that was great.
It's funny you say about Bootylicious, because I love that video, I love that song, who doesn't? But my dream podcast guest is also in the video for that song, Stevie Nicks.
Is Stevie Nicks? Oh my God.
Right at the beginning of that video, because it's a riff from one of her songs.
Oh, yeah.
The intro.
Is she on a stage with a guitar at the beginning and then it splits?
That's it, yeah. She just looks like one of the randoms that they've got for one of the extras. But
oh my God, isn't that terrible? I never knew that. Good fact.
I know. It's good.
Directed by Brian Barber?
That's your area. I'm gonna leave you to that one.
Yeah. It's just so good. So good.
So, your best mate at university, Sarah, gets a job working as a PA to a commissioner of music videos.
Yeah.
A job comes in to direct a music video for the band The Cribs.
Correct.
She manages to get you and her to direct it as a duo. From that, you get yourself an agent. What was that like, first of all, when you found out that you and Sarah had got that gig? Did you think, this is it? This is what I've been waiting for? Or was you like, I can't do that?
No way. I was like, no fucking way. I need to get out of this. And because I was like, I want to talk about it. I don't want to do it. That's the hard bit, And credit to her. She was really pushed me. She was like, we're doing it. And yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was going to be awful and I'd be embarrassed and everyone would, think it was terrible. And actually it was really fine. But yeah, that's I've never been that person who is I'm always terrified, you know what I mean? And I think that's good. Actually, that's not true now. But I'm much more pragmatic now. But back then, yeah, it was everything I wanted, but I was absolutely terrified once it landed with me. Also, I wasn't really into indie music. See Bootylicious for more. You know what I mean? So I was a bit I don't really know what to do with the Cribs, but I thought they seemed cool and they were lovely boys. And we would, I thought what we were doing with it was quite interesting. So that was fine. But I was a bit I think I just wanted Beyonce to call and me do a video for her. I think that's what I wanted my first gig to be, in the most stupid, unrealistic way. But that's what I wanted. I mean, it's good to have dreams. I think that's everyone's. Well, yeah. Tell my agent that. I think they were like, you need to get a grip.
So while we're on that, and this may be a silly question, but when you take on a job, how important is it that you like the product you're trying to sell? Or it's a job, I can separate my likes and my sort of...
I can't do that. I have to love it. And I remember my like agent at the time, got your work. He was like, it's really interesting. He basically said you only write good ideas if you like it. And because you have to write the idea for the music video, like what's the story, what's what's going to happen. And so, yeah, that's sort of how it's been with me. I think, you have to do a good job because you need to get the next job. And if you do something where you don't like it, I don't think you'll do a good job. And then, you end up not getting any more work. So you sort of have to like it. And I think that, I don't know, it's just what interests me, it has to interest me. So I have had things where over the period of the project, I have realized that we are going in different directions. You know what I mean? Like there isn't a feeling between us. And then you have to just get a bit more like perfunctory, like execution, i.e. let's just get this done. You know what I mean? And draw stumps and walk away, or whatever sporting analogy I need to use there. But, you did, like that can happen, and that's also cool. Like that's part of the creative process, is just remaining respectful if you've realized that things are going in two different directions and one of them isn't right, because creativity is collaboration, really. So you've got to be good at that.
It was funny researching for our chat today because I found a website with every credit of yours of music videos that you directed. And I don't know how accurate it is, so you're going to have to correct me if there's some on there that you think, I had absolutely nothing to do with that video. But God. Some of the songs on there, Hard Out Here by Lily Allen.
Yeah.
Young and Beautiful, Lana Del Rey.
Yeah.
And my favourite, and I think the most underrated Saturday song of all time, Not Giving Up.
Yes! I love those girls.
I mean, thank you for your contribution to queer culture, because they are all artists that the gays love. They're loved by the LGBT community. And obviously what you just said is you have to be interested in the end product, and that shows in your work, and that's great because once you find a niche as such,
the Saturdays, yeah, they were amazing, right? Like Rochelle turns up with a blender because she's going to make all the girls smoothies. Like they were just so nice and like just so like a gang, and I loved that day. They are super cool. And because when they did All Fired Up, that was a really different video for them. And I was like, whoa, okay, Saturdays. Like, it's not just bubblegum pop. And so then when they asked me about Up All Night, I was like, well, let's try and do something cool. But I think I was away, and I just sort of handed it in, being like, they're never going to want to do this, but whatever. And then they loved it. And and Frankie Bridge, I remember, was just like, she's electric. She is just the most talented superstar. Like, she's done really well, but I'd love to do more with her. Like, she really stayed with me. And I just think they're super cool, like proper people. Really loved them.
My favourite girl band of all time. I am so desperate for them to do some sort of reunion tour. Me and my partner speak all the time about when are they going to announce them as the Hoopla headliner one year. Is their big comeback.
Why has that not happened?
Can you imagine in the middle of Brockwell Park with
a
hooch in your left hand, a fag in the other, and the Saturday singing Notorious on the stage? I mean, I live in hope.
Yeah, I wonder why not. Interesting. Glyn could make that happen.
Fingers crossed. Oh, I hope so. So since then, as you said, you've made the move more from music videos to TV. You've been involved with some amazing shows. I loved The Tourist, and I loved Liar too. Amazing shows. You've worked with Ioan Griffith, Jamie Dornan. Is that intimidating?
No. Like, I think you just, I think with anyone like super famous, like, because when I worked at MTV, my first ever job was MTV, right? Being an intern, like you would get sent to like interview like massive stars for 6 minutes. Like you get 5 minutes with them. And so I used to like, and you'd be shitting yourself. You know what I mean? You'd be like, my God, what's going to happen? What can I do in 5 minutes? I just don't even understand that as a process. But you just sort of like very quickly understand that it's a really obvious thing to say, but like they're just people. And actually, the reason I think this is my take. The reason they are who they are, i.e., famous, successful, blah blah, is because they're sort of no nonsense and just get on with it. And so I really like working with people like that because it's actually really easy. They're really immediate people, if you know what I mean. Like, so just and I think they all get frustrated by people fussing around them. So I just try and be just completely normal. Well, I mean, as normal as I can be. And I think I like Yoan or Jamie, who I spent tons of time with. You know, I didn't spend a long time with Yoan, but like Jamie, who I spent tons of time with, just is such a talented person, but such a kind person who has become a really good friend because he's just got it all, you know, and he's so lovely to work with that it couldn't be tricky with him, as in it wouldn't have been intimidating because he makes everyone feel at ease, you know.
And I'm bringing it back to food. What is the food like on the set for a big production like that?
Well, food is very important. So I just did a show called Apples Never Fall, an American show with Annette Bening and Sam Neill, which has just come out in America. It's not out here, but it's based on the Liam Moriarty book. She did Big Little Lies. So Americans, the food is out of control. Like there's always amazing like snacks circulating. So I'm talking like freshly baked cookies, milkshakes, hot dogs. Like it's like I ate so much every day. And then at lunch you'll have like amazing, like often like sort of barbecue-y food. Like they'll grill some chicken, they'll do big salads, they'll do like vegan stuff, they'll do fish, they'll do like, it's always, my mouth is watering. The Baby Bell didn't hit the spot, did it? Yeah, so that's really good. British shows, not quite so good. It can really vary. It depends how much budget there is to make the show, which is completely understandable. But sometimes it can be like the Americans do it differently, I would say.
Yeah, and food's important because those days are long. You know, it's hard work, and what you have for lunch can, you know, really make a difference if you find out the caterers are doing jacket potato for the 5th day in a row. You know, you just think, I can't do it anymore.
Oh, I love a jacket potato, but 5th day in a row, no way. But like, it's very interesting. Like, I think people have worked that out as well. Like, you've just got to feed people nicely because you're asking for all their time, because you can't, it's not like an office where like they could go out and get their own lunch. Like, you can't leave a film set until it's done every day. So you really have to like try and make it nice. And we're very lucky that we get given that. But someone told me a funny story that like they were in, I can't remember, some film set, they were doing like loads of like croissants and like toast and Nutella and stuff for breakfast, and everyone like complained and said, can we just have some fruit, you know, like we, you know, want to be healthy, blah blah blah. So they put on all this healthy stuff and no one ate it because basically you know, if there's really nice like bacon and eggs, you're going to eat it if it's around, right? You're never going to choose. Well, I wouldn't be able to choose the fruit. I always eat like it's my last meal.
Yeah, it's because you feel like it's free, it's there, and you think, oh, I'm not going to not have it, you know.
You know, when you have scrambled eggs in a hotel, can you imagine cooking that many eggs in order to put that much on your plate? It's something about free food. I also feel like food isn't. I'm never truly certain I'm ever going to eat again every time I eat. I don't know what that's about. I'm always like, what if I get hungry? Like I'll often eat dinner before I go out for dinner with friends. Because sometimes like you meet and then they don't know where we're going and then you're really hungry. So I'll just have like a tactical dinner before the dinner.
I like that, a pre-dinner. It's like pre-drinking.
Yeah, exactly. God, pre-drinking.
So can we talk about Homo Sapiens for a bit, if that's okay? Because I'm not done with it. I love that podcast so much, and
Oh, well,
I
thanks. That's very kind.
wanna know what happens behind the scenes because I'm nosy. You've recorded 278 episodes.
Yes.
I found that out. That
Why?
When are you gonna stop?
Yeah.
Why do you think it is so successful? And I know that's a terrible question, but some podcasts will, start really well and then kind of veer off at the end. But I feel like you're just going from strength to strength.
So I was like, when we set it up, I was like, well, you know what's going to happen. Someone else is going to come along and do it. And like, it'll be, we recorded it at my kitchen table on my iPhone. Like the money was put in by us, and so I was like, well, surely the BBC or like, because when it did really well as soon as it started, so I was like, surely some big company will just come and do it bigger and better. And actually, nobody has done anything like it. That's not quite true. Well, Tom Allen and Susie Ruffle have a podcast, which is Those Two Talking, which I love, called Like-Minded Friends. I feel like that's quite similar, not like they were trying to copy it, but those two do something, but it's not. It's just those two talking. They don't have guests. They don't talk about issues. It's more like it's just stuff that comes up. And I love that they did that. But I don't know why it's so successful. I think it's about community. Like we just made it about the listeners. That from the word go, it was like you guys write in. We'll tell us what you want to talk about, and we've always been guided by them. I mean, now we just do episodes based around what they want. So they, and they all talk to each other in the comment section on Instagram, and I love that, and it's very positive and warm, and which is also rare for social media. And I think there isn't anything else like it. So if people want it, they come to us, and I'm very proud of the fact that whenever I go anywhere, fashion gays particularly for some reason all listen to it, and I think it means a lot to people, and I really love that. I feel very proud that we have created something that, like, I wish little Chris had, like we were talking about earlier.
So you started off hosting it with Will Young. You did 2 series with Alan Cumming?
Yeah.
2 with Alan. How does it compare hosting with someone to then going solo? Because I suppose it's easier because you started with Will.
Yeah, it's different because, I mean, me and Will or me and Alan will just go off on a tangent. You know what I mean? Like, we'll be like, suddenly we're talking about some dog, pin the tail on the donkey competition in 1993. But like, it's, that now is kind of what I'll do with the guests. So I kind of... It sort of depends on the guest and the kind of person they are, because sometimes you have people who are like super silly, like Tom Allen, who comes on the show, but then you'll have people who are very kind of cerebral, like Katie Lang, and I needed to sort my shit out for that conversation, if you know what I mean, like as in like she's super clever and but not silly, and so that changes the conversation in a lovely way, because she's Katie Lang. You let her lead.
So I want to move on. I wondered if we could just talk a little bit about parenthood, if that's okay. So you've spoken before about the journey to becoming parents with your husband. You are now a father. What is parenthood like? Do you love it?
Parenthood is amazing. And I love it. And I think it's, in its best times is like, it's like you got a new best friend. You know what I mean? Like, not that, like, she'll cringe when she hears that when she's older, but like it's like it's just I love it, and I think that more queer people should parent. And people get annoyed with me for saying that, but I think that I'm talking about people who have the version that I have had, which is like, oh, I don't think that's for me. You know what I mean? And actually, it is for you. It is for everybody, because parenting is about love for another person, and care, and it's, you don't need to know anything else other than that. So it's just amazing. I think it's also really important to say it's fucking hard, man. I literally was like, I don't know what I thought, but I was like, I'm sure it's not that bad. Like, it is the sleep, the lack of sleep, and all of that, and trying to be an adult parent, have a job with it all, is wild. It's not built for that.
The juggling of it all.
Yeah, like the world is built for one person stays at home all day with the kids and one person works, right? And that hasn't changed. And until schools open at 7 and shut at 7, that's never going to change, because someone has to be who leaves work at 3:30 to pick up their children. Like, there's someone at home doing that. And that's the bit I've really struggled with in terms of not thinking it's fair on people, is what I'm saying. It's like, it's fine, we make it work, but I think it's really unfair that the world is still like that, because I think it means that childcare falls to women, and it's not fair.
Sorry, I had a little light bulb moment there as you was talking, because I have always been one of those gay men who has said, oh, it's not for me. And now I'm thinking, is that because it's been so drilled into me growing up that, well, of course it's not for you because you're gay and a man and a woman have a baby? And that just kind of, I don't know how that's never crossed my mind.
Well, that's what the aim is, to talk about this stuff, because I think it's also like, not necessarily like it's a man and a woman, but I think it's like gay men specifically, I'm talking about here, are, you just go to nice parties and do nice things. You know what I mean? Like that's the reputation of gay men, isn't it? Like, we sort of turn up and be funny and all of that. And it's like, I don't know about that, actually. I think if you want to do that and you don't want any commitment, which is having a kid, let's say, that's cool. Like, but I do think one has to examine what kind of programming you've had. That's all. And yeah, that's all the thing I ask. But people get annoyed with me about it, and say that it's sort of heteronormative to have children. But I'm like, whatever. Everyone's free to do whatever they want.
They are, yeah. But I think also the only way you change that preconceived idea in everyone's brains, not just gay people, straight people's brains, is by doing things like having children. Obviously, that's not the reason you do them, but the more people do stuff, the more it normalizes it. So it can only be a good thing, Totally. Well, I'm very happy you're now a parent and you're loving parenthood, even if you are exhausted all the time. Not that you look it. Well,
thanks. I mean, we think that's a lie, but I'm going with it. I'm running with it. Thank you.
So I've just got 2 questions left for you. Then you can go and enjoy your evening. The first one is, if you could distill all your experiences, advice, learnings, insights from your life so far, what would you say are the 3 key ingredients that make up the recipe for a happy and successful life? It's a big question.
It is a big question. Don't compare yourself with others, because that is the source of 80% of my unhappiness. And I've not nailed that at all, but I know that that's what makes me unhappy, and it's silly. I think be grateful for what you've got. Don't take things too seriously.
It's great advice. Yeah. Those are 3 great answers, yeah.
Good. Okay, well, I try and live by them. I fail every fucking day, but I try and live by them.
I mean, as long as you make a smidgen of progress every day towards, those 3
Zero
things.
progress, but,
The thoughts there.
Exactly. The ambitions there.
And my final question for you, Chris Sweeney, I know you've had a baby bell, but what are you having for your tea tonight?
Shall I tell you what I'm having? I'm pretty sure it's bolognese made by my lovely mum who came and stayed over the weekend. So she made lovely bolognese from the farm shop just by here with she put some mushrooms in. So I'm going to have that with some pasta. And my husband's cooking it as we speak. Well, he's heating it up.
The dream.
Yeah. What are you going to have?
I've eaten, and I had... It's a bit rogue, actually. I tried something new tonight. I've seen the latest craze that I keep seeing from recipe creators that I follow on Instagram is a lasagna soup.
Oh, I think I've seen this. Go on.
It's basically a lasagna, but instead of layering it up, you mix it all together. So it saves you all the job of layering it, because the lasagna is time consuming, delicious, but time consuming.
So it's like a beefy, tomatoey soup.
Yeah, then you break up sheets of lasagna into it, and then mozzarella, parmesan.
Oh, God.
Stick it under the grill for a few minutes.
Then you grill it.
Really, really good. Then you grill it just to give it a little crispy top.
I'm going to
really
make
good.
that.
I'll send you the recipe.
Please do.
It was really, really lovely. I mean, I'm trying to diet, so it wasn't diet friendly, but it's Monday. We need a little comfort on a Monday. Thank you so much for doing this. It really has. I don't want to keep blowing smoke up your ass, but it really has been an honour to talk to you. I'm such a big fan of yours and Homo Sapiens, so I really appreciate you doing it.
Well, thank you. I'm very honoured to have been asked. So best of luck with it.
Anytime, thank you. You've been listening to Just to Pass the Time with me, Alexi and Ello. Join me again where I'll be setting a place for another fabulous guest, so be sure to tune in. But until then, if you could rate, review and subscribe to the podcast, I would be so very grateful. I want this podcast to be a safe space for open discussion, so feedback and comments are more than welcome. You can come and find me on Instagram at just2passthetime, all lowercase. See you next time.